Great, okay, so I'll show you now how to access Google SketchUp using your school account. So you just need to go to Google Chrome, and you may already actually be logged in, which is fine, but you may need to log in, or you might be logged in using a different account. So in fact, just make sure you're on the proper Google homepage, because then you'll be offered this option here. So as I said, you may be logged in using a personal account, but you can use your school account for this. So you can see my computer, despite myself logging myself out for the purposes of this demonstration, has remembered me. So, but you would just be able to enter your normal SWIP's email account and then your usual password and press next. So what this gives you access to is all of this. So where you've done lessons before in slides, docs and sheets, you can access them all here, and you can obviously save things in your Google Drive. So that's a really useful place if you don't want to clog up your computer. So if we scroll down, you can see there's obviously YouTube and photos and forms and all these other things, but we're looking for this one here, SketchUp for Schools. So SketchUp's had numerous versions over time. It was called Google SketchUp and it was something that you had to download, but they've very recently created a free version that we can access online, just using the cloud to save things. So for now, I just want you won't have any recent files unless this is obviously something you've played with before. I would just like you to create a new document. Now there's not an awful lot of options when you go down here, but make sure you do this. When you guys log on, it will say get started here. Just ignore that, because you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up with simple template millimeters. So you can see the page opens up with this kind of odd guy. Some people get ladies, some of us get this sort of like country and western guy here. That's fine, whatever. So you can just save it as something like, just going to save this as a test. And what you'll see is it will link then to your Google Drive, hopefully. There we go. So you can, if you've got folders and things like that in your Google Drive, it will just go straight to that. Or you can just save it in the actual drive itself. So we're ready to go. So this guy, I think he's relatively useful, so I don't tend to delete him, but you can. He's useful because he stands by these. So these are our planes. Okay, so depending on which plane you're working on, and as you start to play with it, you'll sort of get a bit more of a feel for the planes. So if I just move it all around, you can obviously see that your blue plane is like a vertical plane, and then your other ones are sort of horizontal planes, but they each do different things, and you'll sort of see that as you start to draw boxes and things like that. So to move around, you can use this one down here. So it's worth noting that any of these tools, you hold them down and there's a multitude of options. I find this one quite useful for moving, or you can obviously use the hand if you just want to sort of like pan from left to right or up and down. This is the select tool. So much like 2D design, if the item isn't selected, you can't really do anything with it. So you must make sure that you're using that. We've also got the eraser there. That'll be useful. The paint tool we'll use later. You've got freehand drawing tools. So this is for sort of straight lines and this is for curves. Again, more sort of curves and arc tools. Squares, circles, things like that. This one's useful, we'll use that in a moment, and this is also useful for joining. And another one here for sort of rotating various items. So, with this, you can't break it, there's nothing that can go wrong, and I don't want you to be too precious. So don't try and make, if you've never used this before, don't set off being like, right, I'm going to make my sanitizer dispenser right away. have a little play with the functionality. So just picking this rectangle here, so you can see when I move it around, it sort of gets picked up by the different panes, and then I'm able to sort of select what way round I'd like to draw it. So I'm actually going to draw a square that's upright like so. And I'm going to select it. And hopefully I can move it. Like so. Okay, so I'm moving it along the x-axis, which is a horizontal axis, but I drew it on a vertical axis. So that's a basic rectangle there, not incredibly interesting. This is then the circle tool, so I can just, you know, do whatever I want to do there. Now, what you might want to have a little play with is sort of joining shapes to each other when they're flat. So I'm sort of adding a circle to the end of my rectangle there. Now, this will be useful when you get onto your sanitizers. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and so you can see closer what I'm doing. Because it will probably be that your designs are not sort of a perfect circle or a perfect rectangle, perfect square. So you might, like when you use 2D design, need to join some shapes together. So it's a very similar process. So say if it was kind of a square bottom with like a rounded top, like what I've created here, I can then use the eraser tool, like the part delete tool, and then you can see that that is just a solid shape. If it's filled in like this or like any of these, then it's a nice solid shape and it's sort of ready to go. Now if you want to make this 3D, I would recommend that you get the shape right first. So get the initial shape that you want going on first of all. So it might even be let's do something here. That you want to have a go at like drawing in a shape. I appreciate that's quite rushed and quite rough, but you can see there that you can do that, and you've obviously got more time to experiment. So if you want to do any cutaways or anything like that, it's kind of worth doing it before you make it 3D, even though that is kind of the cool bit. So that's where this push-pull button comes into play here. And you can see you just click on the face and then you can pull it out. And if I move on to this one here, you can see that creates a really nice sort of 3D shape. Now you might be thinking, oh no, I needed to create a window or series of windows on the face of the shape. I think I'm making sort of a bit of a ghost here. Alright, so there we go. You can just draw those in, and you can use your push-pull in a different way. So you can pull it out or you can push it in. Oh, so if I just change my view again for you, you can sort of see a little bit better what I'm doing. So you can push it in, make it hollow, and there you go, you've kind of got like little windows and things. You can push it all the way so that it comes out of the back as well, but that's just sort of the basic functionality and how you would create sort of a 3D shape out of some different shapes. You can obviously play around in your own time, and there's lots and lots of free tutorials online that you can use, and you can use the tape measure as well to get dimensions. I imagine that if this was my sanitizer, it would actually be ridiculously massive, so you will, when you get to working on your designs, yeah, see, 251 millimeters, that's massive just for the hole, so I would want to sort of shrink all of that down, and that's fine, that's all doable. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to show you, I'm just going to delete that, is I'm going to show you how to sort of create effects and materials. So that's the paint bucket here. So if we use this tool here, you can see it comes up with some standard colours and you can just select it and colour it in. How exciting. Or you can use this magnifying glass and that takes you to all these different finishes. So dependent on what you want your product to be made from, you can see there's all sorts of things. Some of them are actually quite horrible. So you could make it so it's got carpet on one side and you could have a mirror on the other side or inside. Yeah, but in series you could have it so it's got pebbles on it. They all look truly terrible, these. But I remember when I first used SketchUp, I found it absolutely fascinating. So yeah, there you go. So you can see you can create a little lattice effect. But in all seriousness, you're probably using a polymer or a metal. So if we just go on to metals there, I'm going to go for this sort of brushed looking metal. I'm just going to make sure that I cover up all of the surfaces, and you can go over the top of whatever you've done before, but you will need to spin it round to make sure that you cover all the sizes, all the sides, and sort of inside any holes that you might have cut away. Alright, so it's now over to you. I'd like you first of all, as I said, to have a little play. Play with all the various shapes and ways of joining. You can have a little experiment over here as well with these things and see what happens there. You can have a go with the freehand drawing. You can have a go with the different sort of functionality within here, because you can do different polygons, and you can sort of cut away like arc shapes and things like that. So whatever it is that you've designed on paper or for your physical model, you should be able to create what you want. Okay, so good luck. Remember to hit save. It will automatically save every now and then, but it's always worth, when you've done something major, to do a save. So I expect you to do a test, and then when you feel that you're ready to, have a go at creating your own sanitizer dispenser. Okay, good luck. Thanks very much.